Heidi ho, Waze Arenos, and welcome to another exciting edition of Waze Community's Office Hours. I'm your host, Brett, who is definitely not a virtual AI chatbot. I'm a real flesh and blood human being, and I really don't like these horrible rumors going around. Anyways, let's jump right into our show today. We've got a lot of really cool stuff for you. Our last several episodes, we've been looking deep into the WME, but today we're going to take a focus on the Waze app, looking at our some new changes that might be coming to the app map and the new reporting menu. But first, a few announcements. So, this is this week your last chance to take the Waze Community Survey. We're going to be closing it at the beginning of next week, so please don't miss this opportunity. It is the most important thing you can do to let us know what you want to see in the next year in the Waze community. Next up, become a mentor. The Waze editors community is recruiting new mentors to help inexperienced editors learn about the WME and our community. So if you are a level 4 editor or above, scan this QR code or click the link that Danit's going to put in the chat right now to read more and apply. And finally, we have an awesome testing opportunity for those of you who drive vehicles that are enabled with AAOS. We're looking to see how many potential testers we have for Waze on AAOS. So if you are part of the beta community and you drive a vehicle that supports AAOS and are interested in joining testing, then please sign up through this QR code here or the link that Danit's going to put down to Waze Discuss that has a bunch more information on this exciting new program. So with that out of the way, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our guests. First, we are going to be meeting with Dafi, who's the product manager for the Client Map and Driving Experience Squad. And then we are going to be meeting with Chaim, who's the PM for the Insights and Safety Squad, to talk more about the reporting menu. We're going to be doing two separate Q&As today, but they're on the same link. So Danit is going to drop the link in chat here, but here's also a QR code that goes right to the Q&A entry page. So for the first Q&A, let's keep it all about the app map. And then for the second Q&A, we'll have it all about the reporting menu. So that's enough out of me. And I'm really happy to turn things over to Dafi.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here and share with you a little bit of our very early and initial thoughts about the map in our clients.
There you go.
Okay. So again, we're looking...
Wrong one. Sorry about that. There we go. Now we're set.
So again, happy to be here and share some early thoughts regarding the next phase of our Waze map as it shows in the different clients. And by saying clients, I mean the mobile, Android, and iOS apps, as well as our in-car platforms. And this is important to us because the Waze map is a unique asset that is shared across all those surfaces and it impacts all of our end users. B, it impacts the experience users have on screen for a significant time of their drive. And C, it helps us bring the Waze flavor to a template-based experience in in-car. So what we're not going to cover today is the WME map experience as it relies on different infrastructure. But we do know, and we are aware, that we have a gap where you have a color scheme in the mobile app that refers to the colors of the WME, and we're still not supporting the dark mode. So definitely aware and thinking about it. Moving on. So when we're interviewing users, we often hear how the Waze map is indeed one of our strengths. Users may say things like, it feels good to know what's going on around me. And if we consider the map as a stage, it's definitely there in order to best present the real-time info and live reports that we share with our users. Some users refer to it as being the reason for why they use Waze, something like police alerts and accidents, anything that can help them avoid changes or be surprised by things on the road. And lastly, some users appreciate its playful look and feel. It feels interactive, cartoonish in a good way. And this is something that we want to keep and maintain. But we also know that some experience it as overwhelming. They may mention that it's not needed to show multiple indications of traffic. So we have the routes and we have the speed and we have the reports, and some see it as overlapping. Or that there's a learning curve. There's a lot to be familiarized with when you start using Waze. And these are points that you take into consideration when thinking about the next phase. Here are some experiences that we would like to improve moving forward. For example, you can see to the right that we often show multiple road labels where a user might not be interested in more than the upcoming one. Or we ask ourselves, how prominent do we want to show traffic and reports that are on the opposite side of where the user is driving? How useful is it? You can also see to the left that sometimes our end of drive experience, when we show parking pins, could be very useful, very helpful, but you can see that the top part of the screen is not used at all. Could we present a better view for users who are still driving and searching for a parking spot? Probably we can. So basically, at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, how can we better balance information layers to support a safe and insightful driving experience? And we've come up with some design guidelines or principles that we want the map to follow, or any change that we're going to make to it. We want to make the map simpler. We want to balance visual complexity to improve the comprehension and ease of use and safety. We want the map to be relevant, to prioritize contextual information, to be in tune with dynamic needs and adaptable across flows. So at many different points in the drive, the user needs our support in a different way. There are critical map moments that we want to better map and adjust the map accordingly. And we want the map to be Wazy, to want to cultivate a recognizable and playful and hyperlocal map experience that is uniquely Waze. So when we're talking about changing the map, we want to share with you a little bit of the complexity. When we're talking about the map, we're basically talking about many, many different layers. You can see here some examples. We have the background, the basic color scheme. Then we have the polygons on top of it. We have some segments. We have the text labels, the traffic. We have other elements that are unique to Waze on top of it. Sometimes the Wazers or other elements that may be also available in other services, the home and work, or ads. And the way that we present them is really the layer that significantly adds both value, but can also add complexity. And we have the route that the user is currently taking with the turns and everything that we need to make sure that they safely arrive at the destination. So take into consideration that every change that we make in any of those layers we have to make sure, take it very, very carefully, and make sure that we apply to safety standards and that it works well with the other layers. Imagine that we change some element, but then we have to make sure that it works in different driving scenarios, in daylight, in night, when they drive on vegetation or water or near other segments and so on. So changes are done very, very delicately. And of course, beneath all this is the infrastructure and the underlying changes that we have to do in order to make the renderer and all those changes available. Okay, so preliminary research, we try to understand what is the information that users or drivers find the most relevant. We try to do it both in cases where they drive to somewhere familiar and when they're driving somewhere else, and we see the results are different. But overall, if we want to give some examples for such research, it could end up with things like following the navigation directions, which is obvious, but knowing what's happening around them, monitoring or making changes to the route, and arriving at parking at the destinations. And those came up overall as the top ones. And we try to see if we're talking about different driving scenarios or different moments in the drive, what do we want to show users higher in the hierarchy of the layers of the map. And lastly, we developed a metric for tracking the clutter level of the views that we present users. So we kind of split the screen into rectangles, and we want to measure the average number of objects that we show on each one. And we want to improve the clutter by showing less visual elements, or by making sure that they're contextually aware of each other, not overlapping. And we want to, of course, retain the information that is most important to users that we mentioned before. So how this might look, this is the task that we started with the lowest level of this scheme that we've shown before. And this is the basic color scheme of the app, which is actually very important because it balances and allows us to very clearly show on top of it the other layers of information. So you can see some examples here to how we change it. To the left is the current one, to the right is the suggested. And in this scheme, we unified some road colors that reduce the noise and density. You can see how in the left one, there's a lot going on. And on the right one, we only highlight the more prominent roads. And the overall background is much more quiet. So we reduce it from 13 colors to only 5. And we switch to a more natural color scheme from brown to gray, which we will see how it plays in the different lighting conditions. And we also did a change to the label color that you can see that has a higher contrast. And we also tried to differentiate it a little bit from the route to make sure that it doesn't look like a turn in some cases. And another example you can see in the dark mode, how the background is much darker to reduce the screen glare and also make the environment more noticeable. So this is definitely a big change, and we want to see how it plays around in all the different setups and platforms. So this is it for today. We would love to hear your input offline. We will open a thread on what you feel is important when redesigning or kind of trying to optimize the color scheme for the next step of the map. And of course, when we have it ready, you'll be the first ones to experience it while driving and probably provide very useful feedback. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dafi. Oh no, don't go anywhere.
I'm here.
I still have you for Q&A. Okay, so Danit, show us what we have for Q&A so far, and we'll dive right in. Okay, so our first question from ABC 1357. Can you open up the background layer, especially the water layer, to be open for editors? So this is more of a WME question, not really an app question for the app map. We have a lot that goes into the water layer. I know this is a very long time community request. I don't know if this is your area of expertise.
You're talking about the line where it goes,
exactly.
Not so much the presentation of it in terms of colors.
Right, because we have a lot of issues in WME where it comes to overlapping water layer over what should be land or vice versa.
Right.
So that's not on the agenda for this one, unfortunately. So let's move on.
But I can say that we're familiar with the requirement and we're well aware of it. But as you said, we're currently talking about general map changes and the way that they look and feel.
And how many Waze users and WME editors have you surveyed about proposed map changes? It's easier incorporating comments earlier than done after the programming is almost done. So this is actually your first introduction to this. Tomorrow, we're going to be opening up a thread in Waze Discuss to start taking your feedback on a lot of the items that were shared with you today. But this is really just your first taste at what we've got cooking.
It's true. I can also say that in terms of design process, a lot of the work has been into identifying the elements that we can play with and allow our designers easy access to kind of tweak them and to check the relations between them. And then any input that we get at this point will be very, very valuable, and we can incorporate it now that we have an easier access into changing it.
Cool. And from Falcon Tech S, nevertheless, I love when a question starts with nevertheless. Many users prefer a clean interface and ask how to disable pop-up points collecting. Is there a toggle button planned?
Pop-up points collecting?
I think they might mean like different ad venues that would pop up on the map, or like different points of interest that are being shown up, like a PO. Like I think a pop-up point means like a POI, like something being served on the map that isn't just the route.
Okay, so I would love to hear more about this feedback. I can generally say that it's part of the model and how we operate, and we are looking to give it the the relevant look and feel in a way that is not confusing for users who are not interested, and easy for those who do track it. And we do get feedback. The users refer to the pins and some users find value in it. So that's a kind of question of a balance. Again, happy to hear more in the thread.
We have a single word question from the chat on YouTube. Pac-Man? Are we getting Pac-Man back?
Are you referring to
Waze goodies and
Waze
on
goodies.
the map driving?
Again, not part of this specific project, but definitely point taken.
Got it. So, did you put up? Yeah, thank you. So next up from Robin DLC, can the user adjust the size of the road names and other texts in the app?
Currently, yeah, that's a good one. Currently in the app not, I can say that we're very much minded to the font size on the map, as we try to better have a better presentation of text on map, to better align them with the segments, as to they're not following the segment geometry. And we're also considering we put a lot of effort in defining the right size for every zoom level. This is something that we would love some feedback on as we start testing it in real environment. And as for being adjustable, this is something I'll look into.
And up next, we have from, I can't even read that username. I'm not going to try. So is drawing airport runways in the app still deemed clutter? Interesting. I think that's more of a WME question, so we're going to skip this one for now. And another from the same user, any plans to show TTS traffic control devices like stop signs, traffic lights at intersections to give instructions, as some other nav apps do? I know stop signs is like a very, very common request.
Yeah, also stoplights we're familiar with. So definitely we are looking and considering adding new layers, which is a process. And of course, we would love your input on which ones, as suggested here. I'm sure others may feel that things that comes up very naturally is a question of 3D elements. We know that some services go full 3D. We're kind of exploring to see what kind of visibility and for what kind of scope we want it to be integrated into the map. So yeah, those are very interesting questions. Definitely ones that we're considering, and we're just starting now. So that's that.
Awesome. From Emil, is anything being worked on with the app report icon to soften its color so that it doesn't burn the screen? Let's hold that one actually for our next segment, because we're going to go into the reporting menu. So from Alexander, there are some URs that complain about the wrong city name being displayed. This is often due to geography, where one city surrounds another. Oh, and this is the mapping issue we were talking about before with unincorporated townships. Can something be done to avoid this from happening? So this is, I think, more of a report question. So let's skip this one for now as well. And then map editor color scheme will still be available. So are there going to be changes then, or it'll carry over?
No, it will carry over. We're kind of debating and thinking, again, for the longer term, if color schemes is something that we want to make a user preference. This, of course, is dependent on having a full design, being very confident in alternatives. So it's not going to be something that we do lightly. But definitely, again, one of the open questions of do we want to propose alternative for users? But the map editor is not going to change.
Let's take one from the YouTube chat. From Bill, all parking lots show as gray polygons. Have you considered suspending their display to reduce clutter?
It's a very good point. I'll take it with the designer and look into it.
All right, thanks, Bill. Okay, again, dark mode with map editor colors. When we don't have any dates for you, this is just a little tease of something that we're cooking. So we'll be back, hopefully, in the next few months with a better timeline for you. But for now, this is just a little taste of what we're working on. From Adrian, this is a reporting question, so we're going to skip this for the next one. And do we have anything else? If not, we can, yep, these are all reports. So if that's the case, then Dafi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we're all looking forward to seeing more of what your team cooks up.
Yeah, see you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so as I told you, we have a special two-parter for you today. So let me get my screens together and introduce and turn everything over to Chaim.
Waze report accident. Hi everybody. Just was involved in a small accident, but I reported it. So cool. Hi everybody. I'm super excited to be here today. My name is Chaim, and I'm PM for Insights and Safety Squad. And I want to talk to you today about the new reporting flow. And just before we start off, fun fact, that's my first time on this kind of office hours, so I'm super excited, but I'm also a bit nervous, so bear with me. And without further ado, we can get going. So why are we doing it? What are we doing? So once I came up to my dad and I said, Dad, when you're driving, why aren't you reporting things that you see on the road? So he says, son, the mom doesn't let me anywhere near the car. No, seriously, she does. But he told me, listen, it's cumbersome. I don't feel comfortable. It's blocking things. I don't feel safe, etc. And that's actually something that we're trying to solve here. So one is we're trying to provide a very easy and intuitive way for people to report. We'll talk about it more in a second. We're also trying to tackle the fact that some people start and never finish the reporting flow. So it's pretty long, it's not intuitive. And we want to create a way that it's much safer to report. So today you have many clicks, and the primary action that you want to do is drive. You want to keep your eyes on the road, less on the less on the mobile device or the head unit. So why isn't it working? No? Okay, I clicked something. No, clicked too many things. Anyway, so yeah, I think Brett here wants to kill me now, but we can go on. This is me, and this is Brett. Like, oh, what are you doing? So what does the current experience look like? So as we discussed just a few seconds ago, when you open the reporting menu, it blocks your screen. There's a high cognitive load. You see many icons. If you're not a very kind of savvy user, you get all mixed up. You're not even sure what you wanted to report. It's like, what is this? And then they're like, you're not sure, even if you know what you want to report, you're not even sure what's the right thing to do. And it creates an unsafe experience, as we see now. Why is it unsafe? It's not only that it's not intuitive, so you spend too much time kind of looking to find what you want, but it also blocks your navigation. So think about it. You're heading towards a turn, and then you want to report a police car. You click on the reporting button, boom, you see nothing. You don't know if you need to turn. Do I need to turn now or on the next right? You don't see the speedometer. You don't see the ETA bar. You get all lost. So this is super unsafe and super uncomfortable. So this is something that we definitely a challenge that we want to solve. Another thing is that when you report, you also have all these like options that nobody really knows what they're doing there. So why am I supposed to take a photo while I'm driving? Probably not. Add a comment. I'm not really supposed to type while I drive. So these are definitely something which don't really belong here today. So it's another thing that kind of we need to clean up and make the reporting flow way smoother and more intuitive. So another thing, if you even look at the flow itself, so I figured out, I want to report something. I figured out what I want to report. Still, the flow is so long. It takes between 5 to 9 clicks. You can see here an example. It's super, super long. Even when I find the pothole at the end of the flow, maybe I even reach my destination, I even need to click send. I already told you what the report is. Why do I need to even click send? So it's very long process while a person drives. It's not super safe. And if we look at the structure, if we think about it, let's take a step back. we're asking the user all kinds of questions like, what are you seeing? Where is it? Which one it is? And at the end of the day, when we think about it, this is the actual report. What is it? What is it that you are seeing? Why do we need to why is this flow so long? Why is this journey taking so much time? We want to thank you for sharing this with the community, but we want it to be quick, fast, intuitive, and safe. So this is like the challenge that we came across when we started to look into the reporting flow. And if you think about it, this is one of the essence of Waze. People come to Waze because Waze knows, with the help of the community, with the help of the wider community of all the users, we're making like magic. You know things ahead of time. You see things. This is like the magic of Waze, and we want to encourage more and more people to participate, to report more. So these are the challenges that we faced, and now I want to take you through the new flow that some of you may have already experienced, and explain what was the rationale behind the new flow. So we saw the rationale, we saw the issues. Now, how we solved them. So first of all, we had a multi-user research sessions where we looked at a few factors. So one is like, we wanted to prioritize the report. So we have multiple report types, but what are the most important? So we also looked at the data, obviously, and traffic, crash, police came out top on the data. But also when we asked users, what are the main reporting types that are interesting for them, they said these three. We also then went through like grouping. How do we better group the report types? So when you come to report, you see only few things, and from there you can select, and you don't see like multiple many report types. And we went through all these sessions to find the right experience. And this is what we go to. One is that, first of all, safety is first. As you can see in the new reporting flow, we take up 50% of your screen size. So in many cases, you'd see 6 report types. On my Pixel 6, I think, I see 9. It depends on your screen size, but basically we leave 50% for the map. So you don't lose your navigation, you don't lose your driving instructions, you still understand where you are on the road, you never miss a turn. And you obviously, nothing is lost, everything is still there. If you want to see things below the fold, which are less common, which are less used by users, you can obviously open the drawer and find what you're looking for. But again, we looked into what people are using most and what is the most interesting kind of reports that the user look for ways to provide, and these are the top 6 ones. And again, just to go into a bit more details, now with the new reporting experience, again, you always have the instructions with you. The map is zoomed out, so you have you know where you are. The speedometer is there, so you never go over. You don't overspeed when you report, and you see the 6 most important and most common reporting types available and are there for you to get them in one click. And again, we said that one of the challenges was multi-tapping. So instead of like 1, 2, or 3 taps, we asked the user to do 5 to 9 taps while driving, and this is something that definitely not safe. So now we are going into kind of a 2-tap to 3-tap experience. You see here, someone taps the reporting button, and then they select the hazard, and then they don't even need to select the next one. There is always a default type. So the most common type is hazard on the road. So why do I need to select it? It's there by default. And the sweetest thing is that I don't need to click report. It's just there. This is what I want to do. I want to report. Why do I even need another click? So we introduced default subtype and auto completion, auto reporting when you select the subtype. Here it's, sometimes it's three-type reporting is when you're not, you don't want to report the default subtype, you want to report something else. So it's a hazard, but it's a vehicle stopped. So this would require three taps, and again, you don't have to tap on the reporting button. You can just wait until it runs out, and then it will auto-report. And obviously, you'll get a confirmation message. This is the experience that you're all used to, so we don't need to go into it right now. Just a kind of a quick glance. There are all sorts of sub-reports, but again, we try to minimize them and make them, not minimize in a way of reducing, but looking into what is very common, what people are looking for, what adds value. So we don't want people to report things which are will not bring a lot of value to other users. So we looked on all these things, all these kind of attributes, and we ended up with these sub-reports, subtypes, what we call. One of the, I think, one of the highlights of this feature, which we just launched, is blocked lanes. So what we learned from users and what we've seen from usage patterns is when we told people that there is hazard on the shoulder or hazard on the road, it didn't mean much. So people mostly disregarded things that we told them that are on the shoulder. And I must be honest with you, if something is on the shoulder, we need people to be careful because, it's on the, maybe a box fell off and it's on the shoulder now, but it's moving a bit in, etc. So people were kind of disregarding it. So what we said, we should do two things. One is we'll talk about it in a second, but we are generalizing it. Oh, sorry about that. Well, we've made a kind of a general type and subtype of hazard on road. So it's hazard on road and you should be careful. But if something is actually blocking the lane, is not on the shoulder or just a bit inside the lane, but something that actually has stopped on the road itself, which is blocking a lane, this is why we've introduced blocked lanes. Blocked lanes is a new type. It's got all these subtypes of different lanes. And then we'll be able to alert you up front that it's not like a hazard on road that you disregard many times, but the lane is actually closed and you should try and divert or converge into a different lane to make sure that you are safe and you're not getting into some danger when you get to the point where the lane is actually blocked. So this is another kind of sub-feature that we've included in this new experience, is the ability to let other drivers know that the current lane is blocked. Another thing which is already happening, but we are making it better, is like people can report general reports. So someone would report a hazard, and then another person would go there and say that there's a hazard. Another person would come and tell us that they would already choose the subtype, which is not the default one, but the pothole. So we are able to aggregate that and say, hey, it's not a hazard, but it's actually a pothole. So people would see that it's a pothole in 300 meters, and not just a general hazard. So I went through what we've done. I hope it wasn't too fast, but even if it was, it allows you more time to ask me questions, which is, I think, a great thing. Well, it depends on the answers, of course. So, but I want to call out a few things. One is that this is just the beginning, right? It's the first phase. We're still iterating. We're looking for feedback. We're looking to see the usage patterns, and then we'll think about next steps. And another thing is that we already made few changes, but like 2 changes I want to call out based on the community feedback. One is one of the first feedback was, hey guys, the auto report is too quick. It's happening with a few seconds. We've increased it, I think, from 5 or 7 seconds to 12, based on the community feedback. Excuse me. Another thing is that we're bringing the place report back. This is something that hasn't been used that much, but we understand that for the time being, since it doesn't have like its own flow or entry point, we need it there. So it's coming back, and this is based on the community feedback. So thank you really so much for that. And one last thing, a sneak peek of something that is coming up. I think someone asked in Dafi's question, in the Dafi's session, about this big orange thing floating around. And yeah, that's a good question. What is this like big orange thing floating around? That's actually the reporting entry point. And many people don't understand that, it's a reporting entry point. They just don't understand what it does. And we want to encourage people to report more, as we said. So one of the things that we want to do is to make it more understandable that this is the entry point to report something. So I think you'll come across, again, it's coming up. I don't want to say exactly when. It depends on many things, like the weather. No, but on many things that we'll do some experiments with different entry points, different buttons. So I think this one, the green one, would be the first candidate for the experiment. So you might come across it in the next couple of something. And if it's there, you should know that it's part of the experiment to see what would work best. How would we be able to tell better our users that, hey, this is where you report things that you see on the road to share with the community and make the roads safer and better for everyone. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Did you survive our accident?
I survived the accident. We're all good. I'm going to send you the bill for my insurance later.
Sure, no problem.
So also joining
expense
us, you can expense it, but that's up to Guy. So you need to clear that with him first.
Sure.
So joining us for this Q&A, because this is also his baby from the communities team side, is everyone's favorite Italian stallion, Ruben. So let's bring Ruben up because he's going to help us out with some Q&A. Hey, Ruby, how's it going?
Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Super interesting. So let's wait for the question.
Awesome. So first up from Peter, in the new reporting menu, the on-shoulder reports are missing. Will this come back in any form? As an example, the report car stopped on the shoulder is, from my personal perspective, one of the most reports that we send, but will now be missed.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a great question, and also thanks for the feedback, Peter. I appreciate it. This is the rationale behind us removing it. I think I mentioned it before. Is that on shoulder was something that when we surveyed people, we understood that people disregarded. So people thought of things on shoulder or as something that is, they can disregard. So what we wanted to do is actually bring this to people's attention. So we're currently call this on road, and when it's blocking actually the road, we call it blocked lane. So we've introduced a new mechanism, a new reporting type for alerting people when the actual lane is closed or blocked. But when the actual hazard is on the shoulder or just a bit into the road, we want to call it on road so people don't disregard it and actually drive safer, maybe drive slower, take more attention, look out, have attention to what is going on. They should know that something is there and they should be careful and not disregard it. But again, thanks for the feedback. Definitely, this is something that we'll take in and think about.
Next up from Nate, hazard car on shoulder reports are especially, so okay, we're not going to do this again since we just answered this one. From Jose, would it be possible that after the trip where the user reported an error in the map, the possibility of entering a comment about it would open up in addition to the current message, your report reached X amount of users?
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, when the question is if I report an issue on map, then after I complete my drive, I would kind of get a prompt to explain it, or during the drive. I think that during the drive, I would be hesitant. You might not be the driver, but we don't want to encourage drivers, obviously, to type while driving. But I think it's a valid point, and maybe we should do it post a drive. I think it's a valid point, and we'll take it with the team.
Wait, I just want to say this from Nate because he's saying, please read my question again. It relates to local laws. So can we go back to Nate's question? The hazard car on shoulder reports are especially important where local laws mandate drivers to move over or slow down. I see. So is this factored in, like the sort of local law requirements for slowing down when there's a car on the shoulder?
So I think that what we've done is actually even emphasized it more. So when we instead of telling you on shoulder, we tell you on road. We think that people are even more attentive and would comply further with the law, right? So people would slow down, people would give more attention, as opposed to actually, when we're saying on the shoulder and people are used to disregard it.
So I have like a follow-up here from Al. So like a car on the shoulder, it takes a huge importance when the car is on the left-hand shoulder, which is typically more narrow on the freeway. With this, we're kind of assuming it's on the right-hand shoulder, or are we going to be able to add some distinction there?
So I think that's a really cool question, and this is something that we are thinking about and talking about. Definitely, this is something that we want to, if I may say, we started calling it enrichment. So, when we say car stopped, so I think the next question, right, Brett, would be where?
Right,
left. Other people coming in and out. That's another interesting, something that we should know. So I think that going forward, as I mentioned, it's the first iteration. I think that going forward, again, this is not something concrete, but this is definitely something we're looking into enriching the reporting further. So we know something, now we'll ask other people to enrich it. So definitely something on our table. This is definitely something right, left is something that we're thinking about.
Cool.
Super.
Let's go to the next question.
If I just can add like a few things, like since we've spoken with a lot of different question about it, we do have like an open feature request, like an internal one, so the team can discuss about it. Like of course, like Chaim is involved, the designer and the UX. So like don't worry, it won't gonna be lost after these office hours. It was already raised while testing in beta. So don't worry, like as Chaim said, like we do have an internal item and we're looking into it, and of course like we'll keep you posted like of what's gonna come out like in the next iteration.
Thanks, Ruby. So from Auntie A, one neat feature of the old report flow was the ability to complete, like add descriptive text to the map update request and send the report later when it's safe to do so. Is this still possible in the new flow?
So it should be. We haven't done any changes to these things, like if you report and you're offline, and then it reports when you are sent a report when you're back online, and all these things that sometimes you need to complete the report before it's sent. So this should work as it worked before. And again, if you see an issue with that, let us know.
So next up from Bryce, are we going to get a road closure reporting interface for Android Auto or CarPlay?
Cool question. Can I say that I'm also the PM for the CarPlay and Android Auto experience? So
it's your funeral.
Yeah. Oh, is it? I thought Guy is expensing. So my wife heard that I need to pay for the insurance, right? Yeah. So first of all, it's a great question. I think that one of the previous sessions of the open hours was with Yael, who's overlooking the closures and all these major traffic events. And this is something that we're putting as you mentioned, we're putting a lot of effort into, and it will also come to Android Auto and CarPlay. Again, it's something like of a broader scope. It's not just Android Auto and CarPlay. We're like rethinking about the closure reporting experience as a whole. And when we're doing that, when we'll implement that, it will definitely go to Android Auto and CarPlay experiences. Trust me, because I'm the product manager for that too. So I'll watch out that, and I'll make sure it's coming. Definitely, it's not there yet, but it's definitely on our table. Again, no timeline right now, but it's something we're actively thinking about.
Awesome. Yeah. We're going to be really excited to hear more about that. Another from Bryce.
Invite me more often. You never invite me. I needed to push in.
All right. So in the reporting refresh, we're missing animal on the road and roadkill reports, and these are quite important reporting types.
So first of all, Bryce, thanks for this feedback. I would love to maybe offline get more details as why it is very important. When we looked at the data, we saw that the actual number of reports is super low. And when we surveyed, we did user research multiple times, and also max diff, which means that it allows people to kind of rate the categories and the report types that are like meaningful for them. It came out really, really low. So for us, when we wanted to make the experience quicker, more intuitive, and safer, we thought that subtype maybe is mostly irrelevant. And again, I completely understand what you're saying, and it would be
Like Sketch is saying, it's like kind of redundant with an object on the road.
Yeah, so this is it's something that definitely can go there. So this is why we thought, and this is why I'm saying, if it's important, if we have something specific that maybe we've kind of didn't think about, love to hear about it offline. I must say that it's not something which we're implementing now, but we built the infrastructure in a way that going forward we might be able to make it more personalized, in a mean that different geos might get different reporting type. So if it's like super important in some areas, I would love to know that, and I would love to understand it, so we can take it into consideration when we're thinking about future phases.
I think that makes a lot of sense, especially like Bryce is an editor from Canada, where you might be in a more rural area where roadkill is a huge problem, where then we have users in more urban areas where that's not going to come up.
Exactly.
Cool. From Goober King, when submitting a report details via speech to text, is there a way to temporarily disable the voice instructions so that it doesn't accidentally transcribe those instructions into my report? Oh, that's a weird one. I haven't heard that one before. Have you heard about this one?
No.
Okay, interesting. So that's something I think we're going to have to look into. Ruben, have you heard about this bug before?
Actually not, but like happy to hear more. Like if you have already reported in this cast, like please send us the link like to me directly, and we can look into. We can ask our QA team to investigate. So definitely we can look into it and look at the logs, so we can understand like to who and when it happens.
Definitely. From Ronald, sharing a drive, for example, to home, has become very unsafe while driving. Instead of a few clicks, it now takes a lot of clicking and scrolling through third-party apps. Now shortcuts have been removed. Please bring back an option so quick sharing is possible with some favorite Waze users and contacts. I don't know if that's relevant for this conversation, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, from Profa71. Reporting menu is missing animal on the road. So we just talked about this, but I'll read this anyways just to make sure we're not missing anything. I'm talking about live animals. So this isn't roadkill. Yeah. For example, in Lapland, there might be a reindeer herds blocking the road for some time. Those are not roadkill, which is the only option currently. So I think for this one, object on road would actually be a better descriptor, because it's not roadkill, but there's an object on the road.
I think I should go to Lapland to check it out.
Yeah, let's go. We can do a site visit
for sure. And by the way, I think seriously, now that we've introduced blocked lanes, if the herd is blocking the lane, or maybe there's even just one lane, so it's blocked, you can report it, and this is something that hasn't been there before. So I hope this helps.
Yeah.
I would also add just like a small comment like on it, that eventually and hopefully in the near future we're gonna also add like permanent added, that it's kind of like the the big brother of like the new reporting menu, where like from WME editors can add like other that are kind of permanent. Of course, won't cover all the cases where you suddenly see an animal, but like if in specific region and specific countries have like those specific areas that like I don't know, like animals are like crossing the streets or moving around. For example, I can take a lot of those areas in Israel or even like in Italy where I originally come from. Like it will kind of like cover most of the areas that are well known for wild animal crossing. And of course, like it should like kind of like complete the experience. So we'll get the report, but like from a different source. Like those will be mapped in the WME.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruben. So moving right along, back to Bryce. Are we going to get gas price reporting on Android Auto or CarPlay soon?
I think it's a good question. I don't know if we're gonna get it soon. We're looking into the EV experience, and that whole experience involved user contribution around chargers and stuff like that. That might allow us to do something with gas, but there is nothing concrete right now that we're planning.
Fair enough. Next up from John. Have you considered adding a long press of an option for a different type of report? For example, for car stopped, if you long press, you can select left shoulder or right shoulder.
It's interesting. I would take it with the designers and the interaction designers. I think it's interesting. Actually, that when I don't know how many of you know, I didn't know that when you long press the reporting icon on the map, it has a shortcut and it shows you like the 3 top reports. Yeah, like accident, police, and hazard. And this is actually, not many people use it. I mean, like a fraction of reporters use it. I think it's a matter of education and discovery. And I think once we figure out how to do that with a main reporting menu item and report, I think then we could kind of educate people to do it in a more kind of an advanced way when it's for types and getting the subtypes. But it's definitely an interesting interaction because it shortens your experience, right, of reporting while driving.
And so from Lisa, with a rebuttal to this on the safety aspect, that a long press can actually take time away from driving, and it could be illegal even for them to touch phones when they're navigating. So something also to consider on that one.
Right.
Up next, what do we got from Volker? Has the possibility been discussed that editors voluntarily, of course, have the option of sending their username with the UR? So this gets into all sorts of PII privacy territory. I don't know, Ruben, if you have any comments on this, but I know it's like a very complicated legal question of why we don't currently allow this.
Yeah, I mean, like definitely it's like out of scope for like this specific feature, like in conversation. We can like double check like internally. I'm not aware of any plan to share this, like even if it's voluntarily. What I can add, like we're exploring, like as you know, like there's one of the top requests, it's like adding more details to URs. I don't know if it's a username, but like for example, which vehicle type the user was driving, or if he has like, I don't know, license plate, what are the last 2 digits, if he has a permit, that would help editors to actually like understand more, like kind of like debug the UR and apply changes if needed, or like close it. So we're exploring the option to add like more details, not specifically username, as you said, because of course imply like privacy. But we can explore more, double check like if. But currently, as far as I know, there is no current plan like in the near future to add this option.
Fair enough. Another from Bryce. You're on fire tonight. Speed-based dynamic reporting menus may be something to look into. If you're going to have different types of reports in a city at like 60 kilometers per hour versus a freeway at 80 to 90 kilometers per hour, if Waze took speed into account, it could suggest the most appropriate reporting for the type. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if we have any comments on that, but
yeah,
just
I
a
think
cool
it's,
idea.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I can take it with the team, share it. Thanks,
Awesome.
Bryce.
Thanks, Bryce. Another from Volker. I know there are many restrictions, but is it planned that one can also report blocking from in-car?
I think we answered before about like road closure in from Android Auto and like CarPlay.
I would just add, I'm not sure about report blocking, but the reporting experience is currently being rolled out on mobile, and it will be coming to the in-car platforms soon.
You just said it.
Oh. Okay, I've been disqualified from the game. Brett won. No, but it will be coming in the future. No, we're trying to get experiences across platforms, obviously, and not leave too much behind. And we are working. We're working on. We're thinking about how to implement it best for in-car, and it will be coming in the future.
All right. Next up from Ahmad. Are the reports buttons enabled by default or can be disabled by country? For example, the gas price report button is not needed in Malaysia. The gas price is regulated by the government. but it still shows up in the reporting menu, although the something went wrong box pops up after 3 taps.
So
I guess-
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because we're dealing a lot with, like, we're managing a lot with the specific gas prices. So, like, of course, like, specifically gas price can be configured per country. And if you would like to have it disabled, we can definitely disable it. As you said, like, whenever it's country regulated, we're also like doing a lot of works together with the partnerships team. If there is any like open data source that we can like use and like pull data to be a feed, that would be amazing. Like, I would suggest to reach out to your community manager so we can have a feed. So the price that the country is deciding, we can show it in app, and then like you can decide if like keep the report enabled or disabled. Probably we will disable it. So specifically for gas prices, it is configurable. I would suggest to reach out to the community manager. And of course, if you have the option to add a feed in the country, this would be amazing. It would provide exact pricing and data to all the drivers in Malaysia.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruben. Next up from Craig, with the blocked lane reporting, will this use lane counts for the segments in the WME, or just provide a generic left, middle, right list? If roads have more than a standard amount, for example, more than 3, will this need to be specified in WME? This is actually something I was thinking as you were presenting as well. Like, if we're on like a 5-lane road, like how is that granularity going to work?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's a great question, and Craig, thanks for that. So to start off with, we're starting like from a kind of a generic experience where you can, we take the general kind of a general road where you have either right, left, and center. Obviously, going forward, we'll need to look into experiences where there are more than 3 lanes. And also, think about how it would currently shows up as an alerter, that it's like the lane is blocked. Should we also maybe surface it in the, in the road signs, road shields? That there are all kinds of experiences that we can take into account. And how does this work now with WLME? I think it's a great question, but we are just starting, right? I think it's like the first phase of block lanes. Let's see how it works. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what are the usage patterns. Let's see what's the feedback when people use it, and then we definitely can take it. Think about how it evolves in the future.
Cool. Next up from Damon, how will the report feature display in landscape mode?
Just displays in landscape mode.
Will it show like more tiles because there's more?
I think I can't remember by heart right now. But I think
it's also an interesting question, like for when it's split halfway and you have the map on top, does that mean they're going to have a really thin map and then like a thin reporting button?
So it takes 50% of your screen, right? So it depends. Like on my Pixel, I see even 9. I see almost all the reporting types. On smaller phones, so you see 6. I can't remember exactly, but I think it shows a few more on landscape. But it's definitely something that you can try out and let me know if you like it.
Cool. Another from Damon.
I don't know if it's for the all mobiles. Now just take a look at the actual dot that we have, and I think it should split like in landscape instead of doing half on horizontal. You will see the map on the right and the reporting menu on the left. So you're supposed to see still like 6. Just the screen will not split like horizontally. It will split vertically. I don't know
that's what Lisa is saying as well, that she's seeing the same choices in portrait, so it's paneled on the left side of the screen. Awesome. Okay, so from Damon, can you add did you know instructions similar to pop-up ads to educate users about the app features? So this is user education. How are we going to do it?
I mean, I think that's kind of a general feedback for any feature. I think it makes sense. I'm not sure it's like definitely relevant for the reporting one specifically, but it's I think it's an interesting comment overall. And as a product team, we will need to think about it. And if Damon, if you have like something more specific in mind, let us know.
All right, and this is going to be our last question because we only have a minute left.
Really?
From Roy. So map problem reporting is to become something separate?
So currently, it's still part of the reporting menu. You just need to kind of open the drawer, and this is something that is usually used by more veteran users and more experienced users. So it's there. It's not planned to be separate right now, but it's there for you to use.
Awesome. Well, Chaim, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Ruben, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
And thank you everyone at home for giving us a little slice of your Sunday. It's always such a pleasure to be with you and to answer your questions and read your chats. And we'll be back next month where I'm actually going to be turning the camera around and Sketch is going to join me to do a really cool presentation that he's done a few times at different meetups on being the driver. So we'll see you for that next month. We'll be posting later this week on the forum with details for that. And thank you, everyone, and have an awesome week.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. Have a great Sunday. And if you're in New Zealand,